The topic which I'll be speaking about today is the topic of death. Now, I know what you may be thinking. However, today I'm not interested in discussing the ending of people's lives, but rather I'm interested in the perceptions and the different meanings of death. You see, there are two general ways to define death. The first is through its denotative meaning, or the dictionary definition of the word. According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, death is defined as the permanent cessation of all vital function, the end of life. Sounds simple enough, and it is. What really makes death complicated is human reaction, and the uncertainty that comes with death. When one dies, it is the end of human knowledge, and individuals either pass into another unknown realm, or cease to exist at all. This mystery of death is what makes it so intriguing, and causes it to be interwoven into our everyday lives. Though we may not think about death constantly, the topic and influence of death constantly surrounds us. For instance, let's take a look at religion. 84% of the world is religious, and more than half of that is Christians, Islams, or Jews. This means that the majority of the people on Earth believe in an afterlife, and as such, major media has been impacted. Video games, movies, books. The subject is powerful, and it's everywhere. And it's precisely this impact on the public that intrigues me. And I'm not the only one. All around the world, studies have been done to get an idea of what the general public thinks about death. In Japan, a study found that prolonged or aggressive treatment in the last 2 weeks of life kept patients from attaining a good death, and the Japanese general public agreed. They don't approve of unnecessary life-prolonging treatment. In the Netherlands, it was found that having control at the end of life and a pain-free death were the two most important factors to having a good death. In other numerous countries such as Canada, Taiwan, and even the United States, the results of these studies have been repeated. The general consensus seems to be this: to die a good death means to be in control and be prepared for death. So far, we have analyzed the biological death as most of us think it to be. However, biological death is not the only kind of death that exists. As stated by Richard Kolich in 1985, there are 3 types of death that can actually occur while an individual is still alive: psychological death, social death, and anthropological death. Psychological death is perhaps the most closely linked to biological death. It occurs when one is no longer aware of their physical existence, such as when one is in a never-ending coma. The individual can no longer be contacted while still being present on Earth. Social death involves peers ceasing to acknowledge one's existence. This kind of death can be seriously detrimental to one's mental health, especially if it occurs during adolescence. Anthropological death. Much like social death, it involves individuals ceasing to recognize the existence of other individuals. However, anthropological deaths have a tendency to be even more serious than social deaths because they can involve family members not validating the existence of another individual. No matter what its form, death is the embodiment of change. Between an ending and a new beginning, from body to dirt, from heaven to earth, and from dependence to independence, death is a substantial, all-encompassing subject. Whether it involves religion, holidays, or media, death does not merely mean one thing. It's infinite and ever-changing, forever being redefined. Death is a subject which we all must face at some point in our lives, and perhaps it's a topic we should all start considering today.